on the Loud Sports Podcast. Welcome, guys. After the first weekend of March Madness, it is March 27th, Wednesday. We're filming this. We are recording this before the Sweet 16. I'm Paul Rubidoux here with Brandon Plecker.
Hey, guys.
And Jake Williams.
Hey.
And, oh my gosh, my bracket is just in shambles.
Yeah, my day was over after the first game. Was Minnesota, and it was the first game, right?
Yep, Minnesota, Louisville.
Yep, that lost that one.
Same. Same.
Pick that
I had
one.
Louisville.
I'm
so mad for going against the Big Ten. What was I thinking?
We have some shout outs to do. First off the top, before we get into ours, I have, I think, like the top 4 people are in here because of me. We got my friend Jessica Moffitt, hardcore Hawkeye fan, great Twitter follow. She is leading our bracket and tied with Jonathan McCann and Mo, who...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was in Mo's wedding last fall. Great friend of mine.
Did you see the Derek's in there? As Loud OG Derek.
Yeah, he is. He just wanted to flex on how long he's been a part of the Loud and Opinionated. And then Go
Co-founder.
Gobs. I don't know which one of my cousins that is, but that's their high school is the Goblins. Unless one of you guys know who that is, that's my best bet.
There's me, ESPN 01. That's me.
And
Lumberjake won.
out of 18 brackets in our group, I have number 14 and 17.
I'm actually in 7th place. I'm actually doing really well. But for some reason, I don't think it's took.
You're tied with my 9-year-old brother.
I still think that's remarkable.
Hey, I'm in 13th right now.
He did
so.
great, by the way.
Given
Jake,
how bad my first few days were, I feel like I'm in good shape.
my little brother also, Jake, picked off of the logos and team colors, and he is doing better than all 3 of us. So I'm bringing him next week, and he's going to tell you what is going on.
It really blew my mind because he has the same name as me.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, I didn't put that in there, but it said Jacob, and I'm like, I don't go by Jacob anymore, so that's not me.
Your friend Greg was doing great. First day and a half, 2 days.
It was funny too because he was a last minute add to the bracket, and he loves basketball, so I knew that he would have a good bracket. He's pretty up on things, but yeah, I think I should stop doing this because I never end up. My brackets never end up that well. I think 7th is my peak. I don't think I'm going to do any better than that.
But then you'll never end up happy. Like, I'm chasing this high of 4 years ago when I picked 3 of the Final 4 and I had a bracket in, like, the 99.8th percentile. And it was my pinned tweet for, like, a year. But I'll never be that happy again because I'll probably never pick that well again.
It's tough.
It is really tough.
I don't understand how anybody could get into gambling with, like, college sports because I think college sports are the worst to gamble against because, I mean, when I look at my bracket, yes, I had some obvious ones that weren't going to happen. I had Yale beating LSU, but you never know. And Liberty, I think, was a big surprise to me. I did not see Liberty beating Mississippi State.
No, I didn't either. And that was just one of those bigger conference schools that did not show up. They were not ready for the intensity of the winner go home, which we'll get into.
Yeah, I'm
which
sure
other teams and conferences definitely had those teams. But looking at let's do some good round of 64 games in our bracket. So starting at the top, I mean, we all had UCF.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got stumped by Liberty too.
Yep. Same.
Mm-hmm. Picked Maryland over
I'm
Belmont.
mad because I had Belmont. I watched them in that first game, and they looked really good. And they looked
the first 4 team always wins.
The first 4 team has made a run multiple times in the tournament, and they looked really good with their best player not scoring. And their best player against Maryland scored 35, and they lost.
Right.
How do you predict that? It's so hard, and that's what makes it so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Is a guy who's probably an NBA player drops 35 and they still lose.
Yeah, I got in my own head about I know my Final 4 upset pick. I know who will make it, and it totally screwed me. But I did pick LSU over Yale.
I did as well. Yeah.
Hey, it was only a 5-point loss, so my pick doesn't look that bad.
And I picked Minnesota in the battle of the Patino Bowl. I loved it.
Yeah. Yale, I wanted to be my Cinderella story. But Cinderella story to an extent. I had them losing to Michigan State. They get to the Sweet 16, but they lose to Michigan State. So yeah, that one was a little wacky. But I feel like sometimes you have to have those weird teams to go because you never really know.
There's usually one.
Yeah.
I feel really good about this because last week's episode, I said, look out for Oregon. They're on a hot streak.
They were underseeded, in my opinion.
They were underseeded.
And they shocked Wisconsin.
They were underseeded because of the loss of Bol Bol. The loss of Bol Bol made Oregon look like a mediocre team when they had Peyton Pritchard, who started as a freshman on the Final Four team,
right,
as their starting point guard.
Yeah. And what I saw in the Pac-12 tournament was enough to be like, I think this team has a lot of momentum, and I think they're going to ride that into the tournament.
They played great defense.
And they played very well, and I didn't have them going this far, but because I had them losing to K-State, who we'll get to in a little. We'll get all of the Big 12 in a little bit.
All the Big 12.
But I think Wisconsin is an example of a team that did not look very good.
They weren't ready for the intensity of March Madness.
I disagree with that. I think Wisconsin is a team that struggles to score. They have a post player, and post players tend to not be the best option in the NCAA tournament. I made the mistake, the same mistake Paul did. I picked Wisconsin to go to the Elite Eight. I picked Wisconsin to go far.
Oh.
And it took me out, but that is the one weakness when you have post players. The post players tend to not be as good in March as the guards. You like guards. Guards end up winning games.
Right.
That's how it always is.
It's guard leadership. Man, my first one that really let me down, though, is I had Syracuse going on to upset Gonzaga.
Yeah.
It's Jim Boeheim's just one of those March coaches like Izzo.
They did it last year.
He has his team ready to go no matter how they do in the regular season. And Baylor actually showed up out of any of the Big 12 teams.
Who would have thought?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech surprised me, honestly.
I mean, the first game was 72-57. They rolled up on Western Kentucky.
They also dominated Buffalo. I had Buffalo beating Texas Tech. I had Buffalo winning, but Texas Tech surprised me with how great they were dominant defensively in that game against Buffalo. Just dominant.
I have to say, minus Kansas, let me look here. The Midwest and the Western Division, minus Kansas, I have a perfect bracket. Kansas is the only black eye here. Everybody else I picked perfectly.
That's pretty good. And
to me, this was the bottom part of this. I don't know if it's do you really call it the bottom bracket? I don't know. The West and the Midwest to me was the easiest path to having a good bracket because a lot of these matchups it was hard for me to pick against Texas Tech, and it is really hard. You know, even though you and I were talking about how Michigan kind of seeded high, I still didn't want to pick against them because Michigan is one of those teams that I don't think it's been a while since they won a championship, hasn't it?
They went to the championship game 2 years ago.
Yeah, they've been
but they didn't win,
right?
They lost to North Carolina.
Well, yeah, but
they were in another one where they lost.
They went to the Final Four like the year before that too.
Did they lose to
Point is, they're not.
Louisville in
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so. They're not like a Duke or North Carolina level of elite, but they are still always a pretty decent basketball program.
See, I disagreed with you guys when you said Michigan wasn't a 2 seed. I thought that in my opinion, I guess, when I watched the Big Ten championship game of Michigan State and Michigan, I saw the winner coming out as a 1 seed. That's how I saw it. Obviously, that didn't happen because the ACC got probably what they deserved in 3 number 1 seeds. But I saw the Big Ten champion coming out as a number 1 seed. That didn't happen, but I think they're showing that they're still. They probably should have been.
I guess I view Michigan as the same way I view Texas Tech. Okay, you did well this year. If you get upset in any game, I'm not going to be surprised. And if you go to the Elite Eight, I'm not going to be surprised. You have potential. you might live up to it. Michigan lost to Iowa. Texas Tech lost to Iowa State. These are teams that can win and lose these games, and
They struggle to score. That's
I
the
wanted
thing.
Buffalo to move on too, man.
I had 'em.
but yeah. Also, in that side of the bracket, we got to give a second to John Morant.
He was
First
good.
triple-double in 7 years in the tournament. Last one, did you guys see this? Who had the last triple-double? 2012. Would you like to take a guess?
I saw it, but I can't remember.
I can't.
Draymond Green was the last player to have a triple-double in the NCAA tournament.
I was gonna say that or Steph Curry, but I didn't remember Steph Curry's what years he was in college, so I didn't want to look stupid. I think I have when I look at the Sweet 16. That's really the only ones. Oregon definitely got farther than I expected. I expected Virginia to play as well as they have. I mean, the ACC has not surprised me at how well they're performing.
5 teams.
Yeah, they're all looking really good.
SEC was dominant as well.
Purdue has really surprised me. Not that they won, but the way that they won.
Yes, I was surprised that they won by 25 or whatever it was. They were up by 35 at one point in that game.
Yeah, the domination is surprising.
Yeah, that was surprising to me. I thought they would win, but I definitely didn't see them beating Villanova like they did.
My bottom just fell out with Nevada. I was 8-0. First 2 rounds of games, I was great. And then the very next game that tipped off
Was Florida, Nevada.
was Florida, Nevada.
Didn't you have them in the Final Four?
I did.
Nevada, yeah.
Yeah,
You
Nevada
idiot.
was I got 2 in my own head of I need to pick my upset. And I need to.
This was the
I
year.
need to have one.
This
I
was
can't
the
have
year
ones
not
and
to have
twos.
that.
I can't have 1s and 2s, and this is the year where
This is the year.
it's going to be.
I mean,
1s
All the
and
number
2s.
1s, all the number 2s, and all the number 3s made it to the Sweet 16.
Which is
That's
not-
probably never happened
There's-
before.
It's only been once that it's all 1s to the Final Four.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think that it will be all 1s to the Final
Yeah,
Four.
because I think Tennessee will get there and there too.
I think Tennessee has a good chance as well.
But it's
Tennessee.
funny, like you said, that it's hard to pick against those. I understand what you were doing because when you're competing against friends, you go out on a limb a lot because you're like, I gotta beat this guy.
You have to get the edge. You got to go against the herd.
Why do you think I put Yale in the Sweet 16?
It is not a bad choice to pick the Ivy League winner in an upset in the first round. I would do it if it was Harvard, maybe, but Yale was decent.
See how much you just pissed off Yale fans?
Yale
Saying
has
that
won a
Harvard
game in the
was
tournament
better?
recently. I can't remember which year, but I believe Yale did win
they
a
beat-
game.
Did they beat Duke?
No, Lehigh beat Duke.
Oh.
Yeah.
Lehigh beat Jabari Parker's Duke team back in
Is this-
15. They
is
were
that
the 2 seed. CJ McCollum. Yep.
Where he was like, "This is my game." I can't remember something, but he has a quote from pregame where he's like, he told the announcers or like a sideline reporter like, "Hey, don't go anywhere. Like you're about to see a show," and he put it on.
Speaking of shows, can we talk about Duke UCF?
What a game.
One of the greatest. It sucks that there was a round of 32 game. Like it's exciting, but also kind of like a letdown. I hope Virginia Tech and Duke is as good as that.
It's not a letdown though, because you want Duke to move on.
Yeah.
If you would
No,
be
I
disappointed.
no,
This
I
is
didn't-
not the Cinderella to choose.
I didn't want UCF to win. I'm worried that that's like going to be the best game of the tournament. I mean, you could argue that the Auburn game was going to be the best one because that was insane. That air ball at the end. Oh my god!
The 2 missed free throws. Down by 2, you get 3 free throws, and you miss them. Are you kidding me?
I have never seen more chances to lose a game by the winning team in the final minute.
Auburn tried to give that game
It was
away.
turnover.
They tried to hand that game
And
over.
I
They're
picked
hot.
New Mexico.
Oh man,
I can't believe it.
But I think Duke UCF, in my opinion, is the best game so far.
It was a great game. It's
Yeah,
exactly
Andre
what you want in
Dawkins
March.
balled out. 35 points. He was a Michigan commit. Did you know that?
No.
He committed to Michigan before his dad got the job at UCF.
Oh.
He
jeez.
would have been at Michigan right now.
But you want the team. You want to see on the ticker up at the top of the screen. Oh my gosh! Look at that score. If you're not watching that game, and you want to flip to that
And
game,
it was the only one of the whole weekend.
and you want to. Well, there's the Iowa game.
Okay,
The Iowa
but that
game
one was a
made me change the
25-point
channel.
game. Like, what
That's
happened?
why I changed the
You
channel.
couldn't change the channel.
Look at the
Were you not
comment.
watching any basketball? That was the only game on, man.
But Figuratively, whatever. You know what I mean, because I would not go out of my way to watch a Hawkeye basketball game, even in March. I watched the end of that game, but I didn't watch the Cincinnati game.
So much shade.
I had him it's not shade. It's
It
just-
is shade because his team played horribly.
my team played horribly. Team B came out. If you want to read my most recent article on Corn-Fed Media talking about how Cyclones were Team A, as Steve Rome put it, in the Big 12 tournament, they looked like a bunch of freshmen and sophomores that were not ready for physical upperclassmen play.
They had no answer for Caleb Wesson.
Oh my
No
gosh.
answer.
He is literally the bane of Iowa State basketball over the past 8 years, is when there is the thick post where we have not been
dominated him.
able to compete because we have not been able to recruit that man. You know, since maybe Melvin Edgin was our last like good rim protector, and since then it has been super hard to compete when there is that guy on the floor that can muscle his way around Michael Jacobson. Oh my gosh, he got benched for Cam Lard. You get benched for Cam Lard, the guy who just got suspended again and is leaving the program. I really like Michael Jacobson, but you have to work harder to stay on the floor, in my opinion. And I get that that's easy to say, as he was getting elbowed around by it.
Yeah, I said in the first. I saw right when I turned the game on, probably 5 possessions through the game because I was at work and then I went to B-Dubs, and that's where I watched the Iowa State game.
Mm-hmm.
5 possessions into that game of me watching, I said, Caleb Wesson is going to dominate this game, and they're not going to be able to stop him.
It was obvious immediately that
was.
something needs to be done to take care of this guy, or you're going to lose this
Yep.
game. And then it was just this
And they
two-man
didn't.
game with
They
him and his
didn't.
brother all night long. Oh my gosh, it was like Taylor and Blake Griffin all over again. I could not handle it.
Yeah, I think Iowa State and Ohio State to me was the most disappointing game to watch.
It was very embarrassing. Yeah, a team that just won their conference tournament, a major.
And the way that they
conference tournament,
did,
does not show
And
up.
the
Played so
the
well.
only thing that now we may not get to this, but I didn't think Iowa State's winning the Big 12 tournament is that great. But the way they did by winning by 15 in multiple games, that is impressive.
They controlled Kansas.
Yes.
The closer game was Kansas State, which could have been the.
They
real
won
championship.
they won by 15 against Kansas, and Kansas showed that they were probably Texas Tech. I don't know. I still think Kansas was a
Kansas's
better
last
team
two
than Texas
games.
Tech was.
Kansas is in elimination games. Their past 2 games, and they can't get off the bus. And I keep
Kansas-
saying that, but they just don't.
Kansas
they're
was
not
so-
in it from the
that
beginning.
was the
This
Ugh.
Kansas team, those injuries were killer. This Kansas team was probably a Final Four team with Azubuike and LeGerald Vick.
And
Let's be honest.
Okay, so
Vic
quick question.
could be a positive, as he was just kind of.
But he was
throwing
their
up
best
shots.
shooter. But he was their best shooter.
Yeah.
LeGerald Vick was their best
He
shooter,
was
and
their
it
best
wasn't
shooter.
close. He was one of the best shooters in the Big 12 conference. He
Okay.
shot almost 50% from the 3.
I have a question. So if we're giving out awards for the
Oh, I like it.
round of 64 and round of 32,
Mm-hmm.
best game goes to UCF and Duke, right?
Yes.
Best overall game.
Yeah.
Yes.
So most disappointing, do we give that to Iowa State? Do we give that to Kansas, or do we just give that to the whole Big 12 conference? Or
You know,
Wisconsin, maybe?
You can say that it's biased, but I was incredibly disappointed in Nevada because they averaged 80 points a game. They scored 61 points. They never looked comfortable. Their senior, one of the twins, one of their leaders on the team, was obviously shook, committing stupid fouls, frustrated to the point where he's putting himself on the bench. Iowa State did not perform well, but I would say that Nevada was the more disappointing for what I expected in the first round.
I think it's a little, for me, it's a little bit of a tie for Kansas and Iowa State. And it's another thing to where, yes,
Kansas,
I
yeah.
had Kansas going in the Final Four in my bracket. And the way how badly they got beaten, it was just,
Yeah,
it was ugly.
it was ugly.
So for me, it'd probably be Kansas, I think. As bad as Iowa State played, it is disappointing because of all that momentum of the Big 12 tournament, and I'm sure you're going to let me know how overrated the Big 12 is, Brandon. But yeah, I thought that meant something, and I guess it didn't.
Iowa State, you're talking about?
Yeah,
right now?
yeah.
I mean, I definitely thought they would win. I definitely thought they would beat Ohio State.
I thought they were going to the Sweet 16.
They've lost to Ohio State in the NCAA tournament twice now in the past 10 years. Yeah, this could be something that sticks with them.
Actually, no. I think I have them losing in the round of 32 to Houston.
I had Houston.
Yeah,
I had Houston beating
I-
Iowa State.
Again,
but
that's how that Houston got a lot farther, and they were, like I said, other than
Houston
well,
looks really good.
I take that back. There's 2 teams that messed up my bracket, and that it was the 2 Big 12 teams. It was Iowa State and Kansas are the only 2 misses I have in the West and Midwest.
So best individual performance goes to.
Best individual.
To me, it had to be Zion, but then it could have been
You're going like over the course of the 2 games.
yeah.
I mean like 1 game stat line. 1 game stat line.
Carson Edwards, Purdue. 35 points against
See, I
Villanova.
knew we were going to disagree on this one.
35 points against Villanova.
John Morant's triple double though.
Against Marquette.
Okay, Marquette is.
Marquette is not a defensive team.
They're a good basketball program. I mean,
yeah.
oh my gosh, come on.
They have a little bit of history. They're not blue blood.
The only thing Marquette has done is produce Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, and a few good Golden Eagles teams when Buzz was there, but he's not there anymore. And it is about coaching when you're trying to get recruits like
I think 35. I think it's a tie to me. I thought Andre Dawkins might have had the best performance against Duke because that was impressed to me because he was getting guard like he was the only guy who could score on that team. He's the only scorer on that UCF team, and he put up 35 on a good defensive team in Duke. Duke is a really good defensive team.
Yeah,
It's between him and Zion, really, in my
Because
because they
Zion
both played phenomenal.
Zion does what Zion does. He doesn't miss shots and he scores 30 points. That's what he does. He just
Yeah.
doesn't miss shots because all of them are layups.
Right.
Like
He's a big
I don't
dude.
Know what,
Why else?
I
would
don't
he-
know what his shooting percentage is, but I bet it's over 65%. Honestly.
Oh yeah.
In the ACC tournament, I think he missed 4 shots the whole tournament. I know that first game he didn't miss a shot.
yeah, that was crazy.
I think you swayed me. I think. Is it Andre Dawkins?
I think his first name is Andre, but it's Dawkins.
Dawkins.
for UCF.
You won me over. I think Dawkins' performance is more
That was-
impressive because you're right. Zion is going to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Zion's going to have
Zion's
30
done
points
that all year. I'm sure Dawkins has probably done that too, but not against that team, not against that level of competition.
You swayed me. I agree with you.
So, player we're most excited to watch this upcoming weekend.
Cassius Winston,
Absolutely. Yeah, dude. I love watching him.
he's so good.
I'm trying. I don't know. I hate to be that guy, but it's just we talk about this. But Zion, to me,
Zion, he's-
I'm a
yeah.
Zion fanboy. Man, he's good. He's fun to watch.
He is fun to watch.
He makes it fun. He's smiling. He's engaging
Yeah.
with teammates. He's not just, Ben Simmons was the best player in college, but he was just there for the year. You
Yeah,
know?
what I'm
Zion
on.
is making
For God's
friends
sakes,
and
Ben Simmons
caring.
dropped out as soon as LSU
He didn't
season was
finish
done.
it. Yeah, he
he
didn't finish-
didn't even finish college.
He didn't
that
finish
year
this-
of college.
Yeah,
he dropped
didn't
out.
finish the semester. He was just like, I'm here for the eligibility.
I like
that was
it.
incredible.
I like it when players show their personality because basketball should always be about personality because it's the most up close you can get, and I like fun personalities.
This is going to be the summer of Jack dudes wearing polos with the top button buttoned because of Zion. Because that's what he does. And he
This is
looks
classy.
He looks like the happiest, most friendly bull. but he's wearing a polo.
So
He looks nice.
going forward, what's the what other award would we give? What's the last one we should give out?
Coaching. Best coaching?
Tom Izzo.
Well, that's
Nah.
that's kind of like, well, people are upset at him because
No, that's why I said it. Yeah.
he yelled at a player.
Get over it.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I agree with what people are saying on Twitter. Is like the people that are upset about that probably have never played sports and do not know that situation.
Yeah.
When you're getting yelled at by a coach, yes, he's upset with you, but a good coach, when they're yelling at you like that, it's encouraging you because they know you're better.
Any person that is upset with that, I would love to sit down with some highlights of what's his name? On the Gamecocks. That was the Kansas State head coach.
Martin.
Yeah.
I can't think of his first name.
Martin.
It's Martin.
Yeah.
Frank Martin or something
Frank
like that.
Martin. Thank you, Brandon. Frank Martin is one of the most aggressive, scary dudes on the sideline. The way he berates and yells at people, and he has this stare. And you think that Tom Izzo is being over the top by calling a player out in a huddle? These guys know what they're getting into by the program they go to. At this
Right.
point, you can talk to players who are in college. You can talk to people who have transferred away. You know what type of coach you want and what works for you.
Mhm.
These are guys that want Tom Izzo. And so if Tom Izzo's being Tom Izzo, that's why they're still playing.
If he wasn't yelling at you, he wouldn't be the reason. That's
You
not the
want him
reason
to
why
be
you went to
yelling at
Michigan
you.
State.
Right.
That's not. You're not trying. He's not trying to be the best anymore.
He's coaching.
Yeah.
He is showing he cares.
There's a
about
reason
shit.
why Tom Izzo's been to the Final Four. Every single class at Michigan State has been to the Final Four for probably like 10 years. Once every 4 years, they go to the Final Four.
Okay, worst coaching, Bill Self. Tied Steve Prohm. No, I can't.
I would
that.
say I would say yeah, I would agree with Bill. Self.
Bill Self. I've said this for years. I don't think he's a good in-game coach. Same with Calipari. They live off the raw talent that they have, and I think it really shows in games with anything on the line. In the last
But
4
what
minutes, Bill Self just yells and smashes one hand into the other hand, and Calipari takes it as camera time because he knows he's on TV, and he yells and he waves his arms and he runs up and down. He's not a good coach.
Kentucky's in the Sweet 16 without their best player.
That's because they have how many McDonald's All-Americans?
I hate when they say
They don't have their best
This
player.
makes me hungry.
That's okay. Are you saying that if Duke was here without Zion,
They would not be here.
oh, they would definitely.
I
be
think
here.
Duke would still.
Are you kidding me?
RJ Barrett would say, "This is me time."
RJ Barrett would not be able to do what
Oh,
Zion
come
does.
on.
No.
He doesn't have to. You don't have to do what Zion does. But
Did you see how they played without Zion?
I think
They went
would
three.
still beat
They went
UCF.
5-3.
would
They are
still beat
mediocre.
UCF.
Mediocre.
I gotta.
Mediocre. They have two other guys that are going to be top 5 recruits.
They're a
or
mediocre
draft
top.
picks.
They're a mediocre
What
top
are you-
25
what are we
team.
even
They are
arguing
not.
about?
They're not a Final Four team. They're not a Sweet 16 team without Zion Williamson.
So Zion is. I agree. I think Zion is the only reason why I have Duke in the championship, winning the
Zion is
championship,
why I have Duke.
winning the whole thing. Yeah. So going forward, right? We're gonna.
Yeah, let's
You
do
never
our-
did specify.
let's
Where
do our
did you
Sweet
go
16.
wrong, buddy?
Oh,
Was it
it's
Nevada?
It's definitely Nevada. I got hot. I got in my own head. I was like, I got to pick my upset pick. And I reached because you got to find the edge with people that are going to do. I saw how many people picked Duke. And I was like, you got to have something a little different.
You know, that's why I picked Michigan State.
Yeah, I
That's
like
honestly
the,
the
pick, though.
reason.
I like the pick, though. I like Izzo in March. Him and Boeheim. I love their teams in March. They're always in it to win it, except this year with Syracuse, apparently.
There's really, yeah, that's the thing that's what is a little, I understand from the outside of like, it is annoying when you don't see Cinderella make a run, but at the same time, these are all really good teams and they're going to make for really good games.
Yes.
I agree.
So we have been spoiled in that aspect.
And we
Yeah.
have done the tournament challenge second chance
Yes,
on
this-
ESPN.
This is our
which
updated bracket.
You can do, yeah, this is the Sweet 16 of forward bracket. So let's take a look here. First game, Duke and Virginia Tech.
See,
Duke's still going to win.
Yeah, Duke
Yeah,
is still going to be the champion for
Duke
me.
wins.
Again, when I look at this isn't far off from what my bracket looks like. It's just North Carolina.
We get it, Jake.
Hey,
I'm so upset.
Hey, I'm looking at mine. This is my actual bracket, not my Sweet 16.
Yeah.
I'm missing one team in each of all the Sweet. I am only got 4 wrong. I have 7 out of the 8 Elite 8 teams left, and all 4 of my Final 4 teams are still there. My bracket is looking pretty. I'm low right now, but I think I have a chance to jump up into that bracket with because a lot of my teams are still left.
That being said, I've changed my tune because I have to, because it's second chance. Now that I'm looking at it, I think North Carolina gets to the Final Four. It's going to be North Carolina against
How did
Tennessee.
you not have North Carolina in the Final Four?
Because I had Kansas as like my
Kentucky's going to
My
be a
upset
scary
pick.
team.
All right, we'll get there.
If Kentucky gets PJ Washington back, watch out.
So
Yes.
LSU,
That's a
Michigan
20-point
State.
scorer.
LSU, Michigan State is the next game.
I feel like we're all across the board going to have the same picks.
Oh, I don't.
Because
moving
I have
forward,
Michigan State. You have Michigan State, right, Brandon? What about you?
State.
Michigan State, yeah.
Okay.
Because LSU doesn't have their head coach, and
Yeah,
they're just
this
going
is
to
where
get-
it's going to matter.
they're going to get run out of this gym. I get it's the Sweet 16, but this is going to be the blowout of this round, more than Duke, Virginia Tech.
They were
to
more
me.
They were more talented than the first 2 teams they played, but
I
they're not.
really like
they're not
watching
more.
Nazareth.
They're just as talented as Michigan State.
Yeah. Well, I don't
LSU
know.
has great talent. LSU has the guys.
because they're paying them, and that has been proven by the federal
Yes,
government.
yes. but they have the
Oh,
guys.
yeah, they were one of the teams in that huge
That's-
scandal.
That's why their coach isn't
That's why
coaching.
their coach isn't coaching, and he
That's
put
why
on
they got Ben
Twitter,
Simmons.
I want to get my job back. And you're like, are you joking, dude? We thought Sean Miller was going to get fired. And
If
you
you're
think
gonna-
you're going to coach?
if you're gonna cheat, don't get caught.
Yeah. It's like it's like Lance Armstrong. Everybody's cheating. You just got to out-cheat the cheaters.
That's the thing too. Is like of all the other schools, because Kansas was brought up, Michigan State are these big schools, and LSU is the one that gets in trouble. Like, come on, you got to be smart.
LSU is so who's the football school that was doing this in the SEC?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss was doing this. This is what you got to do to hang with the big boys. And I'm so glad that I just have this feeling that Fred Hoiberg was like, oh, I'm not touching that side of college basketball. And that's part of why he moved on, because it's widely known he hated recruiting. So I think that there are definitely a good amount of mid-tier, higher conference schools that are doing this.
I understand when you're an LSU team that has to compete with Kentucky.
Tennessee. You
Tennessee.
got to set yourself apart. Avery Johnson got hired as the coach of Alabama because you got to do something, and now he's gone.
What's the
And they
next?
got one guy.
What's the
They got
next one,
Colin
Paul?
Sexton.
Yeah, Colin Sexton. Exactly.
And he was
you
a
get
stud.
one guy, it can win you 2 games. It brings you so much money to your school.
Yep.
Exactly. Next one. Oh, yeah. Florida State's moving on. You heard it here first.
The Zags are too good,
No.
dude. The
Gonzaga's
Zags are
in
so good.
Gonzaga's in
Did
my
they win
Final
their
Four.
conference?
I don't care.
Michigan State didn't win. Wait, did they?
Michigan State won the
Michigan
Big
Michigan
Ten
State won.
regular
Michigan-
season and conference tournament
I
title.
couldn't remember if that was Michigan or Michigan State.
That game made
Gonzaga
me
Texas
is
Tech
so
didn't win.
good.
And Texas, look where Texas Tech's
the
at.
Zags have a vulnerability.
What?
Their competition in the West Coast Conference.
Paul
He's speechless.
Gonzaga is a blue blood.
I
Come
don't even
on.
know what to say to you because
Because they get the
Why do you
guys
pick
from
against
the-
blue bloods, man?
I'm not picking against blue bloods. I think that when's their national championship? They're a blue blood. They don't.
they just won 2 years ago.
Gonzaga.
Yes,
Oh my god.
they literally just won the national championship.
I did not expect Brandon and I to be like besties throughout this
I
whole
really
thing. Him and I are
was
so
gonna
much on
say.
the same page.
Villanova,
I'll take that
Gonzaga, Villanova,
Okay, so I knew the 2 Villanovas.
and
not the-
Gonzaga
okay,
won with half these players.
That's not okay.
So
You lost, Paul.
Oh, no.
the sophomore Gonzaga
Was that
team can win.
Sabonis? Was that Sabonis?
Yes,
Okay.
they had. Yes,
All
they
right.
had Sabonis.
All right, yeah.
But
back when I
these guys are better.
didn't care. Was that like the first Steve?
Hachimura is a stud. Brandon Clark shoots 75% from the field.
Oh yeah, I like
Josh
watching
Perkins-
Hachimura, but I don't think that
Hachimura is a stud.
he is not going to be able to put a game on his shoulders at this level of the tournament like a guy like Zion
However,
can.
And who is Florida State going to beat him with?
The team, they're athletic, they're long. They had what?
So is
how many losses?
so is Gonzaga.
Gonzaga does not get the recruits. I believe. This is my
Hachimura is a top 10 pick
stout
probably.
opinion. That Gonzaga gets great recruits, and they are probably the best international recruiting school in high-level college basketball. But their conference puts them at a high level to where they always have a target on their back. And I don't believe in teams led by a freshman unless you're Zion.
Paul, let me ask you this.
They're not led by a freshman.
How old is Hoochie?
He's a junior or a senior. Hachimura went there, was on the national championship team.
I don't watch West Coast basketball.
Why don't you believe
You
in
better start watching Gonzaga.
You better start believing.
I
in the
promise you.
Zags.
I promise you will be impressed by Gonzaga.
I've been watching them, and I still think that they're going to come across
They
a
beat
team.
the Baylor Bears, who just beat Syracuse
Yeah, and,
pretty handily.
You picked Nevada. You're out of
Yeah,
this.
okay.
You picked a little school.
Don't devolve into this team beat that team, because once you get 2 degrees away, like you can say that half of these teams could be national championship champions because they beat anybody that beat Virginia Tech or North Carolina throughout the season. Well, they beat the team that beat Duke. If Duke wins, can't do that.
The only team that beat Virginia is Duke. Literally.
His face. I wish you guys could see his face. Point is, I agree with you that Florida State isn't a bad pick. Florida State is a very good team.
I have Florida State
in my
winning this game.
in my Michigan State winning it all. I'm more scared of Gonzaga than I am of Duke.
Stop. Are you serious?
Because
Yes.
of Zion.
That's
Zion's
a
the only
joke.
thing that Duke has.
Mark Few is not. He's like a Calipari coach to me. I don't think he's as good of a coach as he is of a recruiter and team builder.
You
Okay, Calipari has a win. That Bill Self has a win. I still think the same about those guys. If you have the right recruits, you can win based on pure talent.
You just said they weren't talented. You just said
They're
none of
not-
those
they're
guys.
not now.
You just
So-
said none of those guys could carry a team, and now you're saying they have great talent.
I'm saying that they did. Okay, DeMontis Sabonis is better than anyone on this roster.
No,
Yes,
no,
yes.
no.
We'll revisit. I'll set an alarm. 5 years.
5 years.
We'll check.
You're not even gonna have the same phone.
I'll put it in Google something.
Put it in your Google Calendar or something like that.
In closing, our first big disagreement. I don't think that this Gonzaga team is going to be able to hang once it really gets down to it.
Who do you
And
got?
Brandon's very excited for me to be wrong.
Who do you got for Texas Tech, Michigan?
Michigan.
Michigan.
I have Texas Tech.
Okay, and this is the matchup of the teams that would not surprise me one way or the other.
Right.
This is
a
they're
toss-up.
they're exactly the same team. They are.
Whoever shoots 45% from
Yeah.
3 is going to win this.
They're the exact same team. Great defensively, struggle to score offensively at times. Texas Tech may have the advantage because of what's his name, Culver. Is that how you say? I can't remember his name. Jarrett Culver or whatever. The top 10 pick. You don't know who Texas Tech's best player is?
I don't watch Texas Tech.
You don't, I thought you were a Big 12 fan.
I'm a Big 12 fan, but I don't watch Texas Tech basketball.
You never watched Iowa State play Texas Tech?
I did
'Cause
watch
that's-
them, but I bartend during most of these games that I'm watching.
Dude.
I look up Iowa State stuff. I've looked up Duke stuff. I looked up a few other team stuff this year, but not.
I think
Gonzaga,
it's
not
I think
Texas
it's I
Tech.
think it's Jarrett Culver.
Okay.
He's a top 10. He's top 15 pick probably. He's probably a lottery pick this year. They thought he was going to be a lottery pick last year. I'm
All right.
surprised he's still there, but
What's next, Paul? Is it Virginia against Oregon?
Yep.
My bracket
that is the
went away.
next game, yes.
I
Virginia,
I
Oregon.
have Virginia.
Yeah, this is Jake's call. He picked Oregon.
Well, I didn't have Oregon going this far. I'm surprised they went this because I had them losing to K-State. So as much as it hurts to say, I'd like to see Oregon make a run just because a 12 seed, that'd be crazy. But Virginia is just too good. And I just don't think they have the talent to compete with a team like Virginia. As good as Oregon has played recently, I think the buck stops there.
I agree with you that Virginia's more talented.
Although they almost lost in the first round for the
But-
second year in a row.
I see Virginia as a team who gets in their own head and they can't score at times when they get in their own head and they struggle against teams that they should dominate.
So you have
And I'd say Virginia wins the game, but I would not be surprised if Oregon wins.
all that talk and he can't pull the trigger.
That's okay. It's
All that talk and you can't pull the trigger and
Oregon's
make
right.
Oregon the
I
upset.
don't think that Oregon has enough scoring
Mm.
to score against the best defense in the country.
What do you think, Paul?
Oh, Virginia slows you down.
Yeah.
If they're on their game, you can't play your game. That is their game. They are the Bill Belichick of college basketball because their main offense is making you play in a 55 to 58 point game.
Mm-hmm.
And they're great at it. And they only got run out once by UMBC. But well, we all have Virginia.
People
moving
don't
forward.
forget, Paul. People don't forget.
I love it. Oh, what's his name?
They
Forgot
got dominated
the
by
New York,
UMBC.
The
That
New
wasn't even
York
close.
sports guy forgot, and he was like, "There's never been a number 1 seed." And then they tweeted at him. And said,
Probably
"You were
Mike
retired."
Francesca.
Like, yeah, it
'cause
was.
He's awful.
Yeah, it was.
How does that guy?
Francesca.
How is that guy even? How did he get where he is in his career? Francesca is the worst.
It's because he is hyperbole. He's yelling at callers. He is everything. That
Well, he's
should
got
be
that New York
radio.
attitude. Yeah.
All right, Purdue, Tennessee.
Tennessee is as good as Purdue has played. In my opinion, the two best teams will play in the championship, and that's Duke and Tennessee. They are the two best teams
Man.
to me.
That's what I moved my championship.
Tennessee
to.
has a lot of talent.
From my regular bracket, I had Duke, North Carolina, and in this one, I have Duke, Tennessee.
Mm.
We'll get there. Tennessee, yeah, they are one of the 5 teams. There's that small list of the teams that can compete with and beat Duke, and they're on it. So is North Carolina. We got North Carolina, Auburn, and I have North Carolina moving forward.
Yep.
Carolina.
Yep, I would agree.
Houston, Kentucky.
That's a game that it's the same thing that I'll admit I play into this idea of seeding, and I think that does make a difference in my head. And I think Kentucky is such a good, like, they've been in the tournament before. They're a good team. They're consistently good. I'd have to take Kentucky over Houston.
I think Kentucky's good, and I think Kentucky's scary, but I picked Houston to go the Elite Eight before, and I have Houston still moving on.
After all you said about PJ Washington and Kentucky and everything, I have Houston too. I'm very happy with how Houston has played. They are the bouncy up and down team that has made it this far. My world was rocked when I tuned into a game of the Scarlet and Gray playing against a gray and red jersey, and it took me so long to figure out the gray team was Houston and the red team was Ohio State. I had such a problem with that
They weren't white.
the team that's logo is red and white is wearing the gray and
the other
red,
team is
the
silver
other
and
team
red.
is wearing red and white, and I'm like, is that Houston? Oh no, that's Cassius, the guy that just burned my team.
The other team that literally has silver in their color scheme is not the. Yeah, that's weird. That's a weird choice.
Houston's a 30-win team this year.
Yeah, I like Houston moving forward. I like that pick.
I picked Houston to move on in the original one, so
I'm sorry.
I'm sticking with it.
I'm just picturing Paul watching TV and just visibly getting more angry at what you're watching. Why are they wearing gray?
I have a problem with during March Madness, I stand during games. And I do this like during Packer games too,
Sure.
is mainly the two things I do. But any great March Madness game, I'm just standing because I love it. I'm standing like 4 feet and like off to the side of the TV, and that's just where I stand. So I can make my movements and my exciting things. I just
Like,
love it.
I
love
lean on the
March.
chair normally. I lean on the chair a lot.
I
stand right behind it and I'm leaning on it,
I
so
s-
I can do the same thing.
I start by sitting forward,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and after something.
Literally on the edge of your seat.
And then I'll go to like fill my water bottle or do something, and I come back and I just don't sit down because I'm there like, oh wow, what just happened?
Okay, let me ask you this: when it's something that's insane, do you just sit there with your mouth open, or do you make a sound?
Oh, I'm
Because I don't make a sound.
Here's
I
what-
just sit there with my mouth, like jaw on the floor, like what just
When
happened?
that shot by Andre Dawkins didn't go in for UCF against Duke, I was sitting on my couch and I just fell forward and I couldn't say anything. I couldn't believe it. How that shot didn't go in, I still will never know.
It was really funny this week. I found out like I'm from a line of noisy people in those situations because, as Courtney will tell you, me and my grandpa sitting there watching March Madness, it's filled with just two guys just being there quiet and then going, oh! We both do it. Woo! And it's just these sounds like with a block or like a charge call. I'll do the charge motion. I'll just like hit the hips. And I love it. Like that's why
it's
I
like
stand.
it's like when you're watching football and you like do the miming of pulling a flag out of your pants. And
I
it's
am
like
going-
throwing your hand up.
Oh yeah, I do that too.
Oh yeah.
I get way more into football games than I do basketball.
No,
games.
it's you know what's really funny is it's like I remember one time we were going out with some friends. It was from Ashley's old job, and we were some friends, and we were literally at a UNO hockey game. And it was so funny because the women were actually having conversations, and the men were all just sitting there quiet, watching. Oh, and then here's where it comes the armchair quarterback analysis. Well, you see, if he would have done this, then he would have, like we know what we're talking about. Sports.
Yeah, I do that. I know that I am going to be kicked out of Prairie Meadows the first March after they put in a sports book because I'm going to be standing next to the chair. I'm just going to be standing there and I won't sit and I'll just be like super awkward and I will not be allowed back because I was too excited.
We're still gonna have this podcast, dude.
Oh, yeah.
It's just gonna be
We
old
will-
guys yelling into
We'll
it.
report. Okay, so first game of the Elite
Give me my
Eight.
dentures.
Is this the championship game? Duke, Michigan State.
I would say that if it weren't for Tennessee. Like I totally agree that it sucks that is an Elite Eight game and not the championship.
Or Final Four, even.
At least a Final Four. Again, like I said, in my opinion, I thought Michigan State should have been a number 1 seed. So I felt like it should have been a Final Four matchup or a championship if they were on opposite sides. But they got stuck with the 2 seed in the East region. So you got to go through Duke.
Right. And then next, see, I have Florida State in Michigan.
Yeah, I have Gonzaga and Tech with Gonzaga winning.
I have the Zags beating Michigan.
I have Florida State beating Michigan.
Oh,
Am I
really?
pulling a Nevada again?
You got
A little bit,
guys, reel me,
A little bit.
hold me
No,
back.
no.
Hold me back.
A third would be a fourth game of Duke, Florida State at that point, right?
That's what you would
do
have.
they, do they play twice in the season and then once?
I'm not sure if they
I
play
don't know
twice.
if the
I know-
AAC play or the ACC plays against division round robin.
No, they play single games
the Big
sometimes.
12 does that.
They play single
But they
games.
only
They're
lose
kind of like the
sometimes.
Big Ten.
Well,
They play some single
either way,
games, but I don't know if they played them twice or not.
in this bracket, this would be the third or fourth meeting between Florida State and Duke, and these teams are so good against each other. It's insane. The last two times they played each other, like in the regular season, Florida State literally lost with. They were up a point, I believe. Yeah, it was a point, and they lost with 0.8 seconds left on the clock. They literally threw an inbound pass, threw it in, won the game. And the ACC championship is a close game. That sounds exciting, but it's just not going to happen. It's going to be Gonzaga. So it's happening.
Okay, we'll see. We'll
The
see.
Zags.
And I will definitely remember this next year if I just get too hung up.
It's
on-
recorded,
It's
so-
recorded. It's there.
It's
forever.
history.
It's history.
The Loud Sports Institute.
So Virginia, Tennessee, up next in the Elite Eight. There's a lot. Oh, there's too much orange.
I like Tennessee.
I like
Tennessee,
Tennessee.
yeah.
Yeah, Tennessee's moving on, and then North Carolina, and I got Houston here, but North Carolina's going to keep moving on because
Well, you both have Houston. I'm the only one that has Kentucky.
Correct.
Yeah.
North Carolina's on the list of teams that can beat Duke.
I think so,
Houston's
just-
not. That's what it comes
Yep.
down to.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina moves on.
Do you have Florida State beating Duke, or do you have Duke still going?
No, I do have Florida State finally losing. I have Duke and Tennessee going to the championship game. So I have Tennessee beating North Carolina in what will also be an awesome game. And then I have Duke beating Florida State.
Honestly, I would be totally for a Florida State Duke rematch again in the Final Four, and all these teams are very good teams. So no matter what, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm keeping my original Final Four, so I still got Michigan State and Gonzaga and Tennessee and Carolina, with Michigan State and Carolina
Humble
going to
brag.
the championship game. I'm sticking with
You
it.
have Duke and Tennessee losing.
Yeah, no, I have Tennessee losing to Carolina in the Final Four.
yeah.
I totally see. Okay, so if Michigan State beats Duke in the Elite Eight, I would say they are going to go all the way from that point. If you clear the biggest hurdle,
And that definitely will be because Cassius Winston will be guarded by Trey Jones,
right?
who is probably the best defender in college basketball.
I want to agree with you because I've been banging on the drum that Duke is going to win. They're the best team. Or, well, not necessarily the best team, but they're going to win the championship. But that being said, if Michigan State were to win, I don't know if Michigan State beats Tennessee.
I do.
I think Tennessee could beat. I think if Duke gets eliminated, I think Tennessee wins the championship. Because I think they would
I
beat
think
North
it would be
Carolina and
Michigan
win.
State.
I think Tennessee's vulnerable because I'm not sure if Tennessee's a great 3-point shooting team. They have the bigs, and
Yeah.
Grant Williams is a stud, but I don't know if they have the 3-point shooting to compete with. And I think Michigan State does. And the point guard play, again, guard play, it comes back to guard play in my opinion. So that's where I give the edge to Michigan State.
And
They probably have the best guard in NCAA
and you have Tom Izzo,
and the coach.
who's been there before.
Rick Barnes is a good coach, but he's not on Tom Izzo's level.
No.
Right. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll talk about that again before the Final Four next week and see if anybody's got a perfect Sweet 16 and Elite 8. What is the game you are most looking forward to in the Sweet 16?
I think it's
I'm going to say Duke, Virginia Tech, because Virginia Tech is undefeated against Duke. I'm pretty sure Virginia Tech has already beaten them twice.
I would
And
say
so that's an interesting matchup for me.
yeah, I think that's a good one. I would say Texas Tech and Michigan is probably going to be the most exciting to me because it is what we were saying. It's two very similar teams. Could make for a really good game.
I'm really excited for Houston, Kentucky. That's my favorite.
That
Sweet 16
will
game.
be a fun one as well.
Yeah, that's a put down the remote for me. I do a lot of surfing.
Me
You
too.
gotta.
Game to game to game to game to game. to game.
I hate commercials.
Yeah.
Did your? I know DirecTV does this, but did your grandpa have DirecTV? Because you could have done a split screen.
No, he doesn't have DirecTV.
Oh.
So we're flipping
Well,
between all of them.
some cable providers they have picture in picture, and you can do like split screen stuff.
I wonder if Hulu does because that's what I have.
I do that every when college football starts. I usually have 3 or 4 games on.